my royals to Queen Worm Farm, and we are going to take what I use as substrate in my worm bin and we're gonna mix it all together, and I'm going to explain to you what I use, why I use it, and why I add a couple ingredients into the worm bin and why it works so well for my breeding worms. And if you want your worms breeding, watch what I do, because let me tell you, my worms are going crazy with their breeding, laying tons of eggs and multiplying rapidly. And this is what I've been doing for months now, and it has been working really, really well. First, we got to make the bin. So let's just take a quick look at the adults, what we're going to be doing, and then let's do it. Okay, my royals, let's have some fun. Okay, so this is one of my breeding bins, and in previous videos I explained this tub, but if you haven't seen that, this is actually just a concrete mixing tub. Why I like it is because they are sturdy. They won't crack. They're awesome to use. They're one of my favorite tubs here. I just have some garbage bags that I put on top, which helps keep the moisture in. It also helps keep everything dark. And wow, you see no worms. That's because all the worms are underneath. Of course, they don't like light. So this is one of my breeding tubs, and I'm just gonna show you the worms right here. There's a lot of them, okay? They're happy, and right now they're mad at me because I've obviously disturbed their home, just to show you. And you can also see that in my breeding tub, let me just grab some substrate here that doesn't have any worms. You don't want to squish the worms. It's quite moist. You see that? Quite moist. And that's a really important key to keeping your worms breeding well, is moisture. It's got to be like 100% moisture in these tubs. Of course, you can see from right here, there is no standing water, but when I squeeze it, I can obviously take some water out. So this is the worm bin that has lots of eggs. And if you don't know what eggs look like, just take a look at these right here. Right here, these yellow, these yellow looking pebbles right here are eggs. So this is an egg right here. Isn't that cool? And we got another egg right here. And so what I want to do is I want to take this substrate out of here without the adult worms. So I need to go through and take all these wonderful worms out. And look at that! You guys, the one worm that I grabbed is actually a breeding worm. Oh my word, royals, look at that. They are breeding. You see, they're intertwining into each other. That is so cool. I just love seeing that. Don't dare take them apart. I'm not going to even do anything more like that. You got to leave them doing their thing. If you see that it is this color at the end of the worm, and you're like, oh my goodness, shouldn't those red wiggies be pink? It's because they're eating sawdust. They're eating the sawdust in here, and they are making beautiful castings and therefore beautiful soil. So these are mating worms. That is so cool. Okay, so I'm going to just gently put these guys down, put a little dirt over them because it's got to keep them happy. But this whole thing is filled with eggs. So I am going to start separating. I'm going to film that, and of course I'm going to speed it up because it takes me about 15 minutes to get all these worms out of here. And then I'm going to transfer all this beautiful dirt with the eggs into a container, but then I've got to get these adults some new substrate. So now you see what the dirt looks like here with the worms. They've been in here for a month, breeding like crazy. You can see how dark it is, how much they've eaten. You see eggs throughout it. And just keep that in mind because it's really amazing the transformation in 1 month, what they do with the sawdust. It's absolutely incredible. And look, here's 2 more eggs. Right here. There's some more eggs right here. Look at that. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let's get to it. Before I take my adult worms out, I like to grab another tub and I put a couple of scoops of peat moss in to it. And then I moisten my peat moss just with some water. Then I mix it up because I want to take my adults out of my tub, but I like to give them a temporary, you know, safe place where they don't get super stressed in the time that I am taking those worms out of their home. And the key to worm farming is to also have respect for your worms. Think about it. I mean, they are a living thing, and yes, they might not feel the way humans feel and all that kind of stuff, but my royals, they're still a living critter. Respect them, and they'll do wonderful things for you. So I'm just going to give them a temporary place to hide, get out of the light, because I do have my grow light on. And so they go down here when I am cleaning things up. So I have that set up, and that's off to the side here. So what I'm going to do is just move some of this substrate out of my way, and I just work on small amounts. And that way, when I'm done with this, then I can transfer it in my container, and so I'm not missing anybody. So let me show you what I'm doing. So I'm just going to do this really quickly. I just go through and I take my worms out of here one by one. There's 700 or something like that. It doesn't take you that long, but I'm just simply doing this. Now normally I have some music on, but while I'm filming, I obviously don't want any copyright issues. So I'm just looking for these beautiful worms, just like that, and just having fun, relaxing while I do it, playing in the dirt. And so what I do like to do is kind of almost flick them a little bit. Nothing to hurt them, but just to make sure the eggs stay here so I don't carry on with the eggs. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 15 minutes. Enjoy watching me. I'm just going to put this on a little bit faster, and then we'll get to creating their new substrate. Completely separated. Now in this tub right here, as you can see, all those worms you saw me throw into here, they're now hiding and they're at peace right now. There's very little stress, and they just basically went from this tub to another tub and hid, and that's exactly what we want, because again, you don't want to stress out your worms. So I'm going to just set this aside. So now we need to get this bin ready. So what we need to do is put 1 gallon of peat moss in here. I love using the peat moss. It holds the moisture really well. Here's some remnants of it. And it really, really mixes well with the sawdust. So let's get 1 gallon of peat moss in here. Okay, so 1 gallon of peat moss. And now what we want to do is I'm going to put 4 gallons, using the same pail, I'm going to put 4 gallons of sawdust in here. 1. 2. 3. And 4. Okay, now to this, what we want to do is I'm going to add in basically eggshell powder. Now I make this myself. Basically we keep all our eggshells, naturally dry them. You don't need to wash them. You keep that whites, you know, when you crack the egg, there's that residue and that membrane. Keep that all dried in a container, and basically when they're dry, then throw them through your blender on high for about 30 seconds to a minute, and you get this beautiful powder. So this will help neutralize the substrate, so keep it, you know, alkaline. You don't want an acidic substrate. The red wiggies hate acidity. So make sure that you're adding in this eggshell powder, or you have to add in some garden lime to make sure that their bedding stays at a better pH. You can also use oyster shells. You can blend them up and use oyster shells. The other thing is that this not only acts to neutralize acid, but it also acts as grit all at the same time. Worms need grit, my royals. Most people don't know that they need some grit. Sand works good at grit too, but I killed two birds in one stone while I used my eggshell powder. So I'm just gonna sprinkle it over, just like this. That's all it needs, just a nice sprinkle. Then to this, even though they turn this waste, this sawdust, into beautiful worm castings. And if you don't know what castings are and you're very new, casting is worm poo. That just is the best fertilizer for your soil. I always add in some of my own worm food. Now, in the next video, I'll teach you how to make this worm food. As you can see, I'm almost at the bottom of my pail here, but I use this to feed my worms, to give them that extra boost. This is the secret to get them breeding really well. You need good substrate, good moisture. Your substrate should not have any acidity in it. Temperature is important as well, but this gives them the added boost. So I'm not going to go in detail what I have in here. We'll do that on the next video because I got to make some more here. But I'm going to take a half a cup and I'm going to sprinkle that in. And because these guys are really mature worms, I'm going to take another half a cup into the same thing. So a total of 1 cup. Yes, I should have said that in the beginning, royals. But then I'm going to mix it together before I add water in. I'm just going to give it a light mix. There we go. Okay. And now we're going to add a lot of water in here. We're going to the amount of water that we need. We're looking at about basically 4 gallons of water, or maybe even a little bit more. This just absorbs like crazy, which is perfect for these worms. After my initial watering, I don't touch this tub for an entire month. It's done. And that's the beauty of it. It holds the moisture so well. And I'm reusing all this sawdust from a wood shop. I mean, how cool is that, right? So let's add some water. Really mix it in. Almost kind of like kneading in the kitchen. Remember, like and subscribe if you love my videos, love learning about worms and everything about these red wiggies. Subscribe, follow me. Okay, we got this almost mixed. You want to make sure that you don't see anything dry. This is for this moisture level. You see it when I squeeze it. You see that water coming out. It's perfect. But I know I don't got too much because it's not pooling at the bottom here. You can see the moisture, but it's not pooling. It's holding it. And that's exactly what they love. And I like quite a bit of substrate in my tub because I like to give the worms enough room to move around. There's about 700 to 800 worms in this tub, and I just like that they can really move around, lay their eggs, be happy. You got that wonderful food now totally mixed in this bedding, which I like because that way the worms are evenly distributed throughout the tub. They're not just collecting here when I put food here. They're not just all wrapped up here, creating a hot pocket. They're evenly distributed, eating food wherever they go, breeding, eating, and pooing out castings. That's perfect. Okay, so once you got that mixed in, my royals, you can definitely take a handful, again, squeeze it. You see that water? That's perfect. Now you're ready. So what I like to do when I introduce my adults back into the environment, I like to move the substrate out towards the sides, kind of like making a well, not all the way down, but just making a spot right in the middle, just like that. And then I take these, just nicely dump them in, just like so. And the reason why that I only add in 1 gallon of peat moss is because I've already have some peat moss in that brand new peat moss that I had helping the adults not to get stressed, right? On the transfer roll, that peat moss is going to go in here too. Now, I'm not going to mix these worms in and cause them any more stress. I have the grow light on, and just like the videos before this when I explained why I use that light, they're going to now totally distribute themselves in here. So remember, I pulled away the substrate. Now what I like to do is just take it and bury them in. Make them feel all at home, just like so. So now they're going to go deeper in. This is just some plastic from, obviously, from where the wood chips came, so just take that out. Worms don't eat plastic. So now they're just going to relax in the new environment. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my covering here, and this is just some garbage bags. I like using these garbage bags because I can reuse them over and over and over again. I'm just going to put them on top, just like that. And that's going to prevent any moisture from coming out, but there's always gaps, so it helps that there's still airflow. But it just makes sure that the substrate does not dry out. And now what I'm going to do is literally put it onto my shelf and not touch it again for another month. And what they're gonna do is turn it into this in a month. This beautiful dirt where they're gonna leave all their eggs and they're gonna hatch in here. So it is amazing, the transformation. So once again, take a look at what it is now, and in 30 days, it's gonna completely change. Subscribe once again. Thank you so much for watching this video. My royals, I sure hope it was educational and really inspires you. And I will see you on the next video when I show you how to create this wonderful worm food that just gets those worms crazy and breeding. I'll see you on the next video.